Hey, YouTube, this is not a podcast, but I wanted to take a moment to comment on something that Marguerite from Cantonese Corner mentioned in her latest video. If you watch any of her videos, it's just so very clear how much she loves the language. I made a comment on that video because she said that she wouldn't have time to edit because she's moving, and even with her rambling, I think she's still so clear and focused, and concise might be a weird word to use because the video is about 20 minutes long, but I think it is concise. When I'm on, I'm able to speak that way. But when I'm at my average, zoned out, typical John way of speaking, I need a little bit of work. I definitely need my edits. The quote in particular, I cut out the "oh my gosh," but hearing her say "oh my gosh" is so great because you can really hear the enthusiasm with it. But oh my gosh, it's not that difficult if you have a good book, a good teacher, you set your goals, you know what you want to get out of it, and you start doing practice with it in practical ways. That's a great game plan right there. With anything that you do that's skills improvement based, you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. There's nothing in these points that I would disagree with, but I just want to take a little bit of time to kind of go point by point, because if it is so simple, why do so many people fall off? Or why do so many people struggle? Or why do so many people give up if this is all you need for language learning or speaking improvement? Or again, this kind of connects to any kind of goal setting. Took just a second to present the points in this way. Maybe it's easier to sift through, but have a good book, have a good teacher, set your goals, know what you want, practice in practical ways. I think having a good book or a good teacher, they kind of go hand in hand, because if you want to go the route of self-study, if you have a good enough book, you can become that good teacher for yourself, right? But not everybody's equipped to do that. Not everybody likes being a self-learner. There's plenty of people who want to be, and then they get in the middle of it and they decide, oh, I think I'm going to perform a lot better if I have someone in that type of position. It's too much work to do that on my own. If you have a really good teacher, sometimes they will supply the materials to you. And while these are pretty easy talking points, I mean, when you are looking for a class or you're looking for things to read and study, when you're looking for a good teacher, they take up a lot of the conversation. But honestly, I don't think these two aspects are the most important. I think they are important. They will have an influence. They will impact things. You know, how many times do students give up on a subject when they're in school because they don't like the teacher? How many times do students get frustrated with the textbook? So those are real pain points. But I don't think these are the most important things. Taking a cue from fitness, I think goal setting, what kind of goals are you setting, are going to have the biggest impact. You know, you can get really life coachy with this. When you talk about your passion, your motivation, like digging deep, having clear goals for yourself is so important for the foundation, because when things get tough, when you lose motivation, this is something that you need to fall back and remind yourself of. Like, why exactly am I trying to learn English or Cantonese or become a better speaker? It's so important for your goal to be personal and resonant with you. There's plenty of people, when you ask them about their goals, they have an answer ready, and it sounds like a good answer. It could be a great answer, but if it's not really important to them, they're not going to stick with it. So if we take fitness, for example, like being able to run a 5K, is that a sign of fitness? Is that a sign of being healthy? Is that something that you could work for? Yeah, of course, there's programs for it. But if you don't want to be a runner, you'd rather be doing other things. Maybe you love lifting weights. Maybe you'd stick with it better if you enjoyed swimming. You're sabotaging yourself by just sticking with one boxed up version of health and fitness. The big thing about goals is they can also change. What you don't enjoy now, maybe you do enjoy it later when you are more proficient at it, when you are more comfortable, when you're more experienced with it. So the goal doesn't have to be something hard set, but it is something that you should have defined that you can go back and reference and keep checking in. Because if it ever gets to that point where you're saying, I don't even know why I'm doing this, there's no way you're going to be able to stick with it. Really, to me, knowing what you want goes hand in hand with this. It really is part of the process of knowing why you want to set that goal. I've said it before, I always remember Japanese students saying that they want to learn English to make friends all over the world. How badly do you want to make friends all over the world? If that's just something to say, it's casual, you'll have a very casual attitude about language learning. If you are very desperate to make friends, I'm not saying you should be, but again, if you are very desperate, you are dying, like you need to find 10 friends right now, you're going to have a much more vested interest in it, right? Your process, how you go about it, the fortitude for whenever language learning gets tough. You're more likely to break through those obstacles. And finally, the point that made me want to do this video to begin with is, how are you practicing? So Sue Marguerite said it, practicing in practical ways. With me being the conversation coach, focusing on speaking. Most of the time, when I'm dealing with clients and they're trying to get better at speaking and I hear how they go about it, most of them aren't talking at all. They are listening, they are reading, maybe they're writing, they are thinking about speaking, but they're not doing the actual speaking. So I understand, full-time job, full-time student, any other kind of life responsibility, your schedule is limited. But to get better at the thing that you're weak at, you need to spend time to do that thing that you're weak at. Pulling from another fitness example, most people hate doing leg exercises. And it's because most of those people have weak lower bodies. If you're bad at writing essays, you do need to put in time to be writing more essays. But if your focus is on speaking, if you want to get better at conversational speaking, it doesn't really help you to study and listen and practice speeches or listen to TED Talks. Now, there's a differentiator. Surround yourself with material that you enjoy in the language that you're trying to learn and practice. Don't remove that completely. That just can't be the only method that you're practicing the material. I was kind of debating on how to put the visual together. I was looking at pyramids, I was looking at funnels, but I think it's really just cyclic. Setting your goals, knowing what you want, this is your expectations, your desires. I could say that that's at the top, or I could say that's the biggest building block of your foundation, but it deserves its own kind of focal attention there. And then after that, if you know what you want and what you want to do, that will naturally dictate the material and method. And again, if you get stuck, if you feel like you're not learning, it's most likely your goals have changed. You set a goal that wasn't really applicable to you in the first place. And then you're probably not practicing in the way that you need to be practicing. So whether that's you're sticking with beginner material way too long and you're not challenging yourself, or you didn't take the time to really learn the basics and fundamentals, I don't know if we want to say the process will be easy, but it doesn't have to be as difficult if you have these things in place. Even with editing, I don't think I'm as clear and concise as Sue Marguerite. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can leave them down below, and maybe, just maybe, I'll make a video about it in the future. The end.